Hey, David.
Hey.
Nice to meet you. I promise I don't have pizza on my hands.
I had just a little. Okay, that's the next little bit.
We have them. David's here. Sorry, I'm very excited about David.
Nobody else gets that introduction.
He's a great guy.
There we go. Okay, so apparently, according to Patrick, we are recording. I'm dubious whether we are actually recording, but we're going to go with it, and I'm going to act like we're recording. So, bye, Internet.
You should probably aim the microphone at yourself.
I think
My voice is not important. Remember, you're the talent. I'm just the organizer that makes things happen. You're the
Sorry,
only...
you said that in the context of pizza. I'm trying to figure out how I have talent.
So, thanks everybody for coming. Welcome to the January edition of the Atlanta Ember Meetup. We are 1 year and 4 months old now?
Really, we are?
4 months, something like that. I don't know. We're over a year. I know that. We had a cake, so I know we're over a year.
That's true, yeah.
So, thanks everybody for coming. Thanks to all of our sponsors, Big Dirt Ranch, which is the facility we are in, and they provide the pizza and the beverages and the video recording and most of everything that you see. So thank you to Big Nerd Ranch. Thanks to Simple Photo, who Cam works for. They cover our meetup dues. And thanks to Pardot Engineering, who I work for. And they cover, they made our fun little stickers and other various and sundry funds that we may or may not need. And I say we need, so we get them. Yay! For those that haven't been before, I'm Chris McCullard. That's Patrick Dougal. That's Cam Thompson. We are the co-organizers of this bad boy. So if you have any problems or have any questions, come find us and ask questions. We are glad to answer them and help you out in any way we can. What do we got here? We are always looking for presenters. Always, always, always. Our presenter tonight, Kim, just emailed us out of the blue and said, hey, I'd like to present on some stuff. And we were like, yes. So if you want to email us out of the blue and say, hey, we want to present on some stuff. Yes. It doesn't have to be Ember related. It can be whatever. If you're doing fun stuff, that's cool. If you're having problems, that's cool. We're going to have a group debug session a little bit after this too. So whatever works for you. If you want to talk about something, we're open to you talking about it. We have a website now, atlantaember.io. Is it still atlantaember.io or is it actually being deployed somewhere else? We did this last meetup, but I don't remember what happened.
The C names and all, so I think it's still pointing to the GitHub pages, so it's that, yeah.
Okay. So yes, we have a website. There are repos up on GitHub. The Atlanta Ember org has the repos. There's a front end that's an Ember app. There's a back end that's a Rails app. If you want to submit PRs for things, I think you have to be added to the org first. So if you're interested, hit one of us up and we can add you to the org. But yeah, if you want to work on it, come help us build it. It's been interesting. I've been learning Rails, which is, I have no idea of Ruby or Rails, so that was fun. Let's see, what do we have? So we have a project night coming up. This is something we've been talking about for a little while. Tuesday, January 26th, I don't think it's actually going to be the date. I just put it on there because that's what we originally talked about. But it will be towards the end of this month. And come hack on your own project, come hack on our website, or just come hang out. We don't know yet where it's going to be. We're still kind of trying to figure out how this bad boy is going to work. But it is going to happen. It is going to be the end of this month-ish. Our project night.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Because the same night as the Pardot service.
Yeah, which is why I was saying it's not going to be on the 26th. So yeah, the 26th is actually going to be one of our sponsors. Pardot is having a recruiting mixer, so if you're interested in coming to work for Pardot, you can come have a chat with me. I can tell you about all the awesome things that we do and how fun it is to work there. But if you want to talk with other people about that, so not just to think that I'm filling you full of crap, but other people too.
Did you clean the dude?
I did not. I failed at that before I left home. She's gonna be happy with that. It's gonna be at Taco Mac Midtown, January 26th, 6 to 9. There's a link there. You probably got an email. You should have gotten an email earlier this evening about the same thing. But if you have questions, post on the meetup group or email me and I can answer them. You can hit us up on Twitter at Atlanta Ember and ask questions too. Let's see. Has anybody heard of the Global Ember Meetup? Or the Ember Global Meetup? So it's this thing that this guy online named Taras Mankowski, goes by Ember Sherpa on Twitter. He put this thing together where it's basically a meetup, but it's all virtual. And they run it through this service called bigmarker.com. They have bi-weekly-ish meetings, and it covers a wide variety of member topics. Usually they're relatively in-depth topics. They're not like kind of lightweight topics. But it's really, really, really good stuff. And they're going to have a live version of this thing February 6th in Raleigh, North Carolina. We have been encouraged to attend by the Tomster lady. Her name is Tracy Lee. She would love for us to have some representatives up that way. I unfortunately will not be able to attend, but I'm hoping that some other people from our group can go up there. It's about 6.5 hours to Raleigh, so it's probably a go up Friday night, get a cheap hotel room somewhere, and then go to it on Saturday. The event's at 11. It lasts for a couple of hours, and there's going to be like a hack days hackathon thing afterwards. But I think it would be a lot of fun. I was going to go until I found out I had a friend of mine having a birthday party that day. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be cool. The Global Remote Meeting's a lot of cool. So even if you don't want to go to that, you can attend online, or you can sign up for other events and get notifications about what's going on. It's really, really good stuff. Any announcements? Do we have anybody that's doing any hiring? No hiring. We're always interested in hiring people, so if you're interested in working at Pardot, come talk to me. Anybody who wants to be hired? Kim?
Yes.
What? So give us a little.
I'm a very, very newbie. I've been working in, started coding last year, spring. So I've been trying to dive deeply into JavaScript. So I've played around with Meteor and Angular. I'm the co-organizer of CodeNewbie.com, and then you'll see in this, I just started my own website. I'm building my own website in Rails for mentoring. So I'm kind of all over the place because I like to kind of go deep. So, but and you'll see I need to get over the hump from newbie to developer, that space that we need help in. That's what I need. So I need a job who understands that I can bring more to the table than my development skills. I'm a researcher, I'm a writer, I'm an educator,
Anybody else that is wanting to be hired?
Yeah, I'm Garrett. I've been doing the self-study route for about 7-8 months now. I know started with Ruby and Rails, and I've been doing a lot of JavaScript focus. Just writing a lot of apps in coffee rooms, working on a full stack app right now. I haven't tackled any JavaScript frameworks yet. Spent a lot of time studying it and just sort of concocting my own. Currently actually the app I'm working on is a Rails 5 app that's written with ES6 on the front end. It's getting Babelfied, compiled, what is it?
Transpiled.
Transpiled down. So just hacking away, but just starting to look at jobs and things and interviews. So I will be at that mixer.
Awesome. Anybody else?
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm David. I actually just recently graduated from a program in Chicago called Dev Bootcamp. So I previously had worked in IT more in like project management role, but started to code and just fell in love. So I'm getting my hands dirty with it.
Awesome.
So if anybody has some positions, wants to talk to Kim, Garrett, or David, get with them before, during, or after, or come to the Pardot Mixer, because we're always hiring. Anybody just excited about things and want to just say, yes, Jim. Jim looks excited.
I was late. And I'm excited about it.
All right. Traffic looked like a bear,
I should
so.
not have eaten pizza before I raised my hand.
Did we talk about the Ember conference yet?
No, we have not talked about
We
EmberConf.
should totally talk about the Ember conference.
Yeah, I should actually had a slide on here about that. So EmberConf, for those that haven't heard of EmberConf is the main primary Ember conference of the year. It's put on by Tilde, who employs most of the Ember core team. Not most, a good half of it. It's in Portland. This year it is March 28th and 29th. or I guess 28th, 29th, and 30th. It's like a Monday, Tuesday, and a Wednesday in Portland, Oregon. It's awesome. It's a lot of fun. Cam and I were both there last year, and it's a fantastically good conference. It is purely Ember focused, so you get a lot of really good, deep Ember content. You get access to like the Ember core team after they've been drinking beers. You can have really fun, good conversations with them, or listen to them sing really good or bad karaoke. So yeah, it's a really good time. So
Really good conference as far as tech conferences go. It's
Yep.
single track, so you don't have to like make decisions.
Yep.
And Kelly's going to be talking there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's going to be fantastic. She ate some pizza right before that too. So.
So has anybody
Fun conference.
already bought tickets for it?
Yeah,
Yes, Jim. So
Super excited.
yeah, I haven't bought mine yet, but they are coming. So there's 4 of us that are going. So we're gonna have a good representation. I like it.
Well, you probably got it. Yeah. There was a training, a series of training events.
Yeah, they sold out very fast.
And unfortunately, I did not get approval from my boss until after the training events sold out.
Yeah.
They're kind of expensive.
Well, and the company pays for it, it does not matter.
Yeah, they sold out like as soon as they went on pre-sale. Like those things sold out in a hurry. But yeah, there's always some good trainings. But even that, like the talks are still really good too.
I mean, it sells out that fast, is maybe telling us that we should have our own little training potentially.
Yeah, potentially.
There does seem to be a cottage industry of Ember experts that hang up, like they do training.
Yeah.
Torrin Billups did some online unit testing training. That stuff filled up before I could get approval from my boss.
What you're telling us is your boss needs to be a little quicker on the.
He gets like 75 emails, so I have to put like an inappropriate picture.
Nice. You won't believe this JavaScript. Just go the BuzzFeed route. But yeah, EmberConf is awesome. It's a lot of fun. So if you haven't attended and would like to attend, it's worth the money. It's definitely worth the money. And Portland's on top of that. Portland's a very cool city to go visit. So
Any Grimm fans here? I want to go see all the sites on Grimm and see what.
is Grimm filmed in Portland?
That's right. It's like the one TV show I watched.
You sound like a dad. Yeah. Yes. All right, what's next? What do I got next? Did I lose focus? I must have lost focus. Oh, no, that's the last slide, actually. All right, good. We're done. So, yeah, thanks for coming, guys. So, tonight, our first speaker is Kim
Creighton, yes.
Creighton. She does junior dev mentoring, is new to the area, new to development. So, we'll let her talk to us a little bit about doing mentoring to junior developers, which is a very admirable skill and hard to do, I think. So we'll make sure we can get her set up. Get my various board out of your way.
Am I in the zone?
Yeah, that's right, zone.
Okay. Just want to be, I was in the zone. Well, hello everyone. My name is Kim Creighton, and I have, as I said, I recently transitioned into technology. I have years of experience working with learners of all ages, all abilities, all skill levels. I'm a certified special ed teacher. I have a master's in training and development. So I've been working with people. I've taught GED, all kinds of stuff. And throughout my whole career, I've been mentored, or I've mentored somebody. And it's a challenge because, well, first of all, let me say, when I came into, this is my information if you wonder. I have just started the junior dev mentoring because of a blog post I created called "Stop Lying to Newbies. Stop saying this shit's easy because it's not. This shit is hard." And once you get over the tutorials and the whatever, it's like this big crevasse of nothingness that it's like, I need to know something other than I missed a semicolon, and I found it. And there is a big, vast gap between that and being productive on a team. And I find everybody talks about mentoring. Oh, I want to mentor, I want to be mentored, da-da-da-da-da. And it's not very successful. And I'm gonna dispel why and then how you could, shift that. So one of the things I did, and as we know, there are crap loads of jobs for developers. This was just on Indeed. This wasn't even all the searches. And there's a crap load of developer jobs, and there's a crap load of people learning, and the jobs still don't get filled. And that's a problem. I have this ongoing mantra that, there are so many jobs. That's what sucks newbies in. Oh, there's so many jobs. There's, hey, da-da-da. Because I left education. That was a place where I left making less than what I started with. How the hell does that happen? It's like, And so I was like, my father passed away last year, and I was like, screw it. I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm just going to do it. And so I've been teaching myself to code and was excited. And so the thing is, there are a lot of jobs out there, which you would think it would be good. You think there would be a great thing. There's a lot of jobs out there. But the problem, the frustration is the skills gap. There are people who want to hire. There are people who want to be hired. There's just this big thing in the middle, this big mountain that needs to be climbed. And so you have a number of, so it's not the number of newbies, because you have newbies coming in, but they don't know how to get from videos and tutorials and even boot camps. I know people have spent thousands of dollars on boot camps and still can't get a job. They don't have the skills to get a job. And I'm just like, crap, I guess I'm happy I went my route and still can't get a job because it didn't cost me much. I went to the cheap route. And so the development community is overwhelmingly generous. I'm going to tell you, being a Black female, I am just like, thank you, you want me, And so one of the things that is successful are mentorships or apprenticeship programs. And so I'm a researcher by heart. I'm getting my doctoral degree in Doctors of Business Administration. So I'm always doing research. And so the cost of business, the business costs associated with corporate hiring managers' inability to recruit and retain skilled workers to fill current and future entry-level positions is increasing. That's just entry-level positions. Because people think, you see these, one thing, newbies see these things are asking for 3 years and da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, screw that, just apply. Because the people with the skills already have a job. The senior managers are hired. They're just using that as SEO and all that to get you. But you need to apply. And 89% of organizational leaders stated that they're having difficulties filling open positions. They either have to turn down work, they're missing deadlines, or they have to go outside the United States to hire. And as we know, with the immigration policy, they're contemplating, we have all these young people from Tech and Georgia State or whatever, who from other countries who have to leave when they graduate. If they change the immigration laws, they won't have to leave. And so they'll be taking the job. They won't have to go recruit over in India or China or whatever. Those young people will be here. And we need to be able to compete. I need to be able to compete because I'm just not there yet. And so for me, there are 4 quadrants of mentoring because I've done a lot of mentoring. And so you need to understand, when you're thinking about mentoring, you need to understand those 4 things. There's a difference between professional and personal mentoring and mentoring adults and mentoring young people. You can't come at it from the same place. So mentoring youth is focused on helping them becoming the people that they're supposed to be, helping them navigate adolescence, helping them decide what they're going to do when they grow up, that kind of thing. So it's focused on them. It's totally focused on them and getting them where they need to go. So it's about gaining skills and knowledge. It's about supporting them. And it also includes, I found, it's not just the young person, it's also the family. So it becomes this big, muddied thing that takes up a lot of time. Because you do big brothers, big sisters, you're dealing with the family issues, you're dealing with the young person's issues, you're dealing with school issues, you're dealing with all kinds of things. Not many people professionally want to deal with all that. But it's different because that's what young people need. But adults need, when you're mentoring them, they need to focus on we're focus on specific things. So career advancement. So we're not this nebulous, oh, I need to develop as a human being. So we're trying to become better at something. So we might not know specifically what that is, and sometimes we do, but it's to become better at our jobs, better, get a job, something very specific. And it's about acquiring and at this point, you need to demonstrate the knowledge and skills. And it's about best practice is a mutual beneficial relationship. It's not one way. At this point, it needs to be something beneficial for the mentor as well as the mentee. And most adults find themselves cast in both roles. Right now, I'm a mentee and I'm a mentor. So that's how it's also different from youth. Personal mentoring. So you can personally mentor adults as well as youth, but it takes on, it's open-ended, it's unstructured, it's just nebulous thing. It may go on for years. And that is frightening to a lot of people who would like to mentor professionals, but they have jobs, they have families, they would like to be within some guidelines, but that's not personal mentoring. Professional mentoring, although, is mentoring that is seen as, should be seen as the same way as apprenticeship. We have defined goals and objectives. We have timelines. It's not something that's just this nebulous, ongoing, no benchmarks, no nothing. So what we'll be focusing on, what you need to focus on is mentoring adults mentoring adults in a professional manner. So those are the two quadrants we're going to be looking at. What mentoring is not. It is not Stack Overflow. It is not Slack. It is not these one-off things. Those things as a newbie are great. When I have a problem and I'm Googling and I can't find it, that's great to go there. But that's not mentoring. It's not casual. It's not, sometimes I'm on Slack and I guess the person they start answering it and either they get bored, they go to sleep, they get drunk, I don't know what it is, but they just stop. And I'm just standing there like, we were just having a conversation. And it's easy to do when you're virtual. You could just, if you were in front of somebody, you would be less likely to walk off in the middle of a conversation. But I've had that happen several times. Even on Stack Overflow, I'm talking to somebody, they're trying to get more information or whatever, and it just stops. And it's like, okay, I'm stuck, so let me try this other thing, this other group or whatever. And mentoring is not static, it evolves. What mentoring is all about relationships. Personal in the fact that there has to be a connection. No one wants to mentor somebody they don't like, because you have to invest time in setting up your schedule and all these other things, and you don't want to be doing that for somebody you dislike. So mentoring is best done when there's a connection, there's a relationship there. There has to be a commitment. You have to commit to doing it. Nothing's worse than being a mentee and somebody saying, oh, let's pair program on a certain day, and when you're trying to reach out to them, they never get back to you. It's kind of disheartening. And it's for myself and fellow newbies who are developing, it's our profession, it's transformational. If we had somebody who can walk us through what we need, how to get over the hump, we can be very good. We could be great developers because we have a passion. I have a passion for it. It's I pair program with a guy in Nigeria every day, and today we were setting up a new a testing environment, and he was talking about. I'm like, how did you even know that this? It's like so many things that you don't even know that you don't even know that are essential in a development environment. And you just don't know, you feel so stupid. But it's like, how can you feel stupid? You didn't know. I wouldn't admonish a baby for trying to walk and falling, but we put so much pressure on ourselves. And it's unfortunate. So what are factors that make effective mentorship? First of all, the mentors need to be honest about why they want to mentor. They really need to evaluate that. Because that would, if they were really honest about themselves, some people realize that they are just not great at mentoring. It's just not their forte. and they need to be assisting in other ways. They need to be have an honest assessment of their time, their talent, and their temperament. They need to know how they work, what hours work best for them. Some people can handle more than one mentee. Some people like working in group settings. Some people want to meet you. Some people want to just do it online with Google Hangouts. A mentor really needs to assess this, and they need to be able to set realistic expectations or realistic goals, because the mentee does not know what those things are. They're learning. So the mentor needs to have, so it's planned. That's the difference between what makes good mentoring easy and why other people are struggling. It's planned. It's not this haphazard thing. It's just like you would do any project management. It is planned. And the mentee needs to think about reciprocity. What can I give back? I'm not just this parasite who's sucking off somebody else. What can I do in this relationship to make sure it's a win-win for everybody? They need to respect the mentoring relationship. If you have scheduled time, you need to be there. If there was work that needs to be done beforehand, you need to get it done. And they need to identify their personal outcomes, what they want to get out of it, so that allows the mentor to set realistic goals. I wanted to go here because this gentleman, somebody pointed me to him on Twitter. And he has his name is Nick, and he's looking for a mentor. And this is the most well-defined mentoring description of, he talks about here that this is what he's planning to do, how long he's planning to do it, his schedule. He has a 10-month at home, so he's working through that. These are the things that he's willing to help you with. These are the things that he wants to work on. He also talks about skills that he'll be helping the mentee with. And he's looking for somebody who's motivated. He's motivated to do this because of he wants somebody who's represented in tech. And then he gives an honest assessment of what his ideal candidate is, the person that he wants to work with. And I like also that he says, even if there's something that he doesn't know that the person wants to learn, he'll either learn it with you or point you to somebody else who might learn it. So he's willing to be in that process of learning. I think that's one issue with a lot of people who want to mentor. They definitely don't have the temperament. Newbies see that every day on Stack Overflow. That is not the nicest place for newbies to be. It is they can be assholes. And I actually wrote a blog post about that because I've had so many of my peers, they won't even go there to get help. And that's sad. When all the information is there, they're too afraid to go and ask a question. If they can't search it, they won't ask it. They will just move on to the next thing. And that's a big chunk in there, a chunk that they're missing. And they're just too afraid to ask. And there are people who on there who think they're great mentors. Well, you don't talk to a person who's learning, this is that. No, okay, isn't there a nicer way you could say that? And so for me, when I get those responses, I worked in high school. Nothing you can say bothers me. I work with teenagers. I'm not scared of anything. It's just like, whatever, dude. So what I do is, when they give me a comment like that, I'm like, you know what? I'm new to this. Could you please explain to me what I did wrong and how I could correct it? The person who's a true mentor will come back and they will give me everything. The other person who's just being a jerk, I would never hear from them again. Because they just wanted to be gripey. They just wanted to snipe. It's like, whatever. But that scares, as a newbie in development, let me back up. When you're becoming a doctor, there are steps to take to be a doctor. Very defined steps to get a license to be a practicing physician. This thing is like the Wild freaking West. I could go left, I could go right, there is no defined path, there's no defined benchmarks, and for most of us, I can tell you my two big paradigm shifts that took me a while once I started. That's why I say I started in April, but I can honestly say I really didn't start programming to June or July because two major things. Coming from education and the fact that I can Google someone and copy it, and that's not considered copyright infringement, that's not cheating. That was a paradigm. I mean, that was something literally I had to change in my brain chemistry. I'm not cheating. Everybody does this, and it's not cheating. It's how we learn. Why reinvent the wheel? That was a big hump for me to get over. And I'm trying to think of what the second one was. Oh, that I'm not expected to know it when I first started. Somebody gives you a project, and like you have to go investigate how to use the tool. As a nurse, I need to know how to use the tools before I go in and stick somebody with a needle. Those were two big paradigm shifts. And most newbies, I'm not talking about the kids who are coming out of college, I'm talking about us career changers. There's a lot mentally that we have to just shift to be successful in this path, because it's totally unlike anything else we've ever been in. And I wanted to speak to the fact of the fact that there are so many jobs. There's articles galore about the lack of skilled workers and how it's threatening the economy. I just did some Googling. This is just from peer-reviewed. There's 111 articles, peer-reviewed articles on skills gaps. Just on Harvard Business Review, there are 55 results when I put in skills gap of Harvard Business Review, just articles on skills gaps. So it's a major issue. And because I'm not well-versed as I would like to be in development, I want to give back to the community. I want to be of value. I want people to see that I have value. Or I'm going to be honest, I wanted to create my own opportunities, because giving me a coding test, I'm not ever going to pass, because that's not how I process. Me talking to people getting to understand that I am intelligent, I can solve problems, that's how I'm going to get my jobs. And so that's how most of us who are transitioning are going to get their jobs, because we have a plethora of history behind us. We have to figure out how to bring that forward, and mentors can help us position that better. So we're not just these junior devs who's starting at the bottom of the rung, not knowing anything. We know a lot. I just don't know how to code that well. That's just what I don't know. So why we need this? The industry needs to do a better job at recruiting and retaining the numbers of new developers that they need to fill these jobs now and in the future. Newbies need to find a way to level up on their own, because a lot of us are doing it on our own. I didn't have $12,000 to go to a boot camp, and I take that back. I did have it, because as I said, my father passed, but somebody thankfully told me, I don't know about those numbers, so you might want to just try it on your own. So I saved me some money, because again, I literally see people who I know some people who finished a program last April and were still trying to figure out GitHub, just like me. And I'm like, wow. Learning to code is hard, and without someone to giving you a realistic reality check, newbies begin to think it's impossible, and they just quit. They go back to their other jobs. Because we have to feed our families. We have to eat. So the carrot of, you can make this much as a dev, but to get there, no one's talking about that. And since there's no clearly defined path as a programmer, newbies' knowledge and skill levels, they vary greatly from one individual to another. So one of the things I wanted to do was take a self-assessment. And I was thinking about paper, but we're all techie people. We all have our phones. So if you would go into notes or something on your phone, I would really like you to sit and just be honest. Write 3 personal strengths and 3 personal challenges you have if you were a mentor, mentee, or both. What strengths could you bring to a mentoring or mentee relationship? What challenges that you personally, just an honest assessment of you as a person. What would challenge you as a mentor or mentee? And we'll go from there. So let's see, time is it. I have no idea how long I've been talking, but I'll give you a few minutes to do that. Because honestly, for the first time, this is the first time everybody wants to mentor. It sounds great, and it feels good. It feels good to help people out. But what you don't want to do is not have success. You don't want to discourage yourself, and then those newbies who feel that we just need your help. Yeah.
Candidate notes? Like the app notes? I must have done that.
Oh, no. If you have Apple, no, you can't, because that's one of those ones that's one of the ones you cannot get rid of.
I had
Like
not
that Apple
seen it.
folder, you probably did the same.
Oh, there it is.
Or
Okay.
junk folder.
Yeah. No, that's one you can't get rid of.
Alright.
You can do Evernote. You can do whatever you want.
Hey.
We've been waiting for you.
All right, well, there you go.
Proceed with me.
We're trying to.
And I know you from somewhere. I'm trying to figure out where do I know you. Where were we together? What's your name? I'm Kim.
Kim?
Mhm.
No meet on me?
Did you do, I know where I know you from. Core Reaction.
There you go.
Yeah, okay. Well, basically, this is a part of that project I did, that mentoring project that I came up with there. Yeah.
Are we your target audience?
It's not that kind of thing. It's just stemmed from my own frustrations and love of learning to code, which I wasn't doing at the time.
Coding or loving to code?
Either.
Okay.
Either, neither, neither. I believe in giving people, I don't believe in volunteers. So is there someone who would like to share? Okay.
From a mentor standpoint, strengths, I'm always willing to talk to people
Okay.
and help. I feel like I'm relatively good at problem solving. I may not have a good, technical domains of the knowledge of the area you're working on, but I know how to use Google, and I can help figure it out. And I've been there. I'm self-taught.
Okay.
I don't have a CS degree, so I've gone through the same process you're going through. So I feel like I have a good base of how to work through the process and get to a job. Weaknesses are general lack of confidence in my technical abilities. I'm self-taught, so I don't have a lot of the base level knowledge that a lot of people do, and that sometimes weighs on me. Ability to commit. Married, a couple of kids, so finding time to commit would be really hard. And then if I'm actually motivated to really do it, what are my motivations here?
Okay. Anyone else? Go ahead.
I've actually been a teacher for a long time, my whole life. I still do a little teaching. So it's hard to gauge the challenges of being a mentor in regards to adults, because adults are so much easier to mentor than children.
I don't agree.
I do agree.
Oh my gosh. At least young people think you're the expert.
Strengths, breaking things down into components, reframing the same point over and over, because that's vital. People just won't get it if you just say the right answer. You got to keep approaching it a different way, and sort of similar, but just finding analogies based on the other person's field of how it might be similar to what you're trying to teach. Challenges, as always, just patience with the student, just having the patience to keep doing those strengths. What else? My computer's went to sleep and deleted what I wrote. Motivating in regards, especially in regards to children, motivating students to practice, motivating them to actually do work outside of the mentoring. I find that definitely the biggest challenge, because there's nothing more draining than teaching and teaching and teaching when the people aren't actually following through with your instruction. That's the hardest challenge for me. And then just time.
Well, I want to speak to that because that's why I find that's one of the things. Yeah, because young people, first of all, motivation is intrinsic. It's not extrinsic. It's not external. If someone's going to be successful, they have to internalize motivation. It's something they have to want. And as adults, because it's usually tied to I need to eat. That is usually a great internal motivator from them, as opposed to young people who, it's like, yeah, okay, I'm not feeling it today. Well, my peers said I don't have to do this, and there's so many external things for them to. So I totally get that as a teacher, yeah. Anybody else?
Well, I think a mentee's motivation. I think if the mentee is super motivated, that makes the mentor's job that much more easy. So I don't have my phone out, but I just wanted to mention that I think I found that the people that learn the most, the people that find themselves in good mentor relationships, have brought strong motivation to the table.
And that's I'm glad you brought that up, because that's the point. That's the first step. That is necessary. But what burns people out is that's usually all there is. There are no defined goals, outcomes, and objectives. And so without goals, outcomes, and objectives, the most motivated person, if they keep bumping their heads against the wall, are going to get discouraged. Or if their kids, see the shiny thing over here, their attention is going that way. Without those defined goals, this is the outcomes we want to reach. This is the timeline we want to have. And then the mentor checks in. This is, so for you to do this, that, and the other, I'm in an Ember group. I want to learn Ember. So as a mentor of who knows, what are those steps they need to take? So this is where, but we have to assess we have to meet the mentee where they are. So this is where you are. This is where you need to go. And let's break this down in chunks. Put some timelines on it. Make it quantifiable. Make it something that cannot be, you don't want nebulous. You don't want soft. You want hard deadlines. And adults are used to that, because that's what we have mostly dealt with in our jobs. We have hard deadlines. Or even when we have kids. The kid needs to be at the soccer game at this time. So we're used to that kind of thing. So yes, motivation is a great first. It cannot be that's the part that makes mentoring challenging, because people just rely on mentoring, or, I really like you. You have a great personality. That only goes so far. That great personality is going to suck when they're not doing what you want them to do, and they're giving you excuses, and you're wasting, you've not gone to, you're late to call your wife or whatever because this person has, so all those nice things are a great start, but it has to be it has to be goal related. Anybody else want to, if not, go ahead. I see you over there.
So I would say as a mentor, so there's 3 personal strengths and challenges. So as a mentor, I think some of my strengths are I'm a pretty good listener. I think that I'm pretty good at motivating other people or finding what their motivations are. As challenges, I find that having shared communication is sometimes difficult.
What do you mean?
I'm sorry, having shared vocabulary, finding a way that we can communicate in a way that we're both on board with. And also knowing what the expectations are, that there are unknown expectations. I think sometimes beginners are trying to build a mental model, and as a mentor, I see where maybe the model needs to be filled in, but I don't necessarily know what's in that person's head. And so trying to find out what they're expecting or what piece they're trying to fill, and as a mentor trying to encourage them to fill a certain part, that may not align. And so figuring out how to move forward when we both have different expectations, just in a way to help continue learning.
And that's the benefit. One of the benefits of having the goals and everything agreed upon, and because as a mentor, you have to meet them where they are. There is the end game, so that's the forest, but you have to be able to see the trees as well. And so it's about really taking an assessment of where their skills are and letting them being honest about, hey, dude, I know that's where you want to go or where you think you are. This is where you actually are. Now let's break that down in a way that's positive, that you can get some success. But and that's one reason, another difference with adults, even though I'm very honest with young people, more honest than I should be sometimes, but just being honest about an honest assessment of the skills. And that will take it out of your hands and let them see, hey, I see what you want, and we're going to get there. This is where you are. So that's a great goal. How do we break that down into from the forest to the trees? Anybody else? Yes.
Say for being a mentor, the strengths of patience, helpfulness, but challenges is a way to relate is personal experience, and sometimes it comes across, I have a difficult time detaching my experiences from myself. So everything that comes out to say, this is how I experienced it, is a difficult way to give someone else an experience or a way to solve a problem. And being a mentee, some strengths is I'm willing to listen or challenge thought, and I always have questions. And some challenges with being a mentee is time. I mean, just trying to commit time to, but the people I would seek out are fairly flexible, or the length of time to set goals is a lot longer. So.
And that's something, again, as a mentor, you need to take that assessment. You need to know what kind of, what you need to be, for you to be successful. But I'm glad you brought up the personal biases, because as this industry or this field continues to really focus on underserved populations, that's a conversation people really need to be conscious of. Stack Overflow. When you, and this is just reality, when someone gets snipey with a black man who's asked a question on Stack Overflow, they often take it as a personal affront to their manhood. So they get pissed off. Fuck you, da 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 da. They go through this whole thing where it doesn't need to be that, because people don't understand. Women, if you say certain things to women in a certain way, we shut down because we're thinking, we internalize it, whereas men don't you take it and, okay, whatever, water off a duck's back and keep moving. We may be thinking about this 3-4 hours later, next week, because we're thinking something's wrong, what did I do, da 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 da. And so it is a challenge when you're trying to mentor someone who's not of your background, your culture, your all these things that need to be taken into. That's what the challenge. That's why the motivation and the passion is not enough. There are a lot of things that need to be considered when you want to when you want to mentor someone. There's a lot of levels of respect that need to happen, because unlike young people, as this is an adult, this is your equal. They may not know what you know, but they know something. And those are the challenges that people are having. It's like you really want to bring. So I'm grateful that you want black females, but I'm that person who, although I'm an introvert, will go out and get what I need, but I will spend 3 days at home resting because it took me a lot. Like after this, I won't be out the house tomorrow because this is totally draining me. But I know that, and I've taught myself, and I've been able to do what I need to do. A lot of people haven't done that, so they may need your help. So even with identifying those things, they might be not even telling you the truth because they are fearful of how you might interpret their lack of, and it's whole. And you're like, what? Where did you get that from? And they've internalized this whole thing inside their heads. Those are the challenges that come with mentoring that people don't think about. Yes.
So recently I tried learning a new language as an adult. I don't know if anybody in this room has tried to learn another language. Sorry, spoken language, not programming language.
Because I'm like, yeah.
I'm talking about Portuguese.
Yes.
Like, Brazilian
Yes.
Portuguese. Okay.
I thought you said you wanted something easy.
Yeah.
My wife is from Brazil. I didn't have a choice. I said Spanish or Portuguese. she understands Portuguese, she hears Spanish, but she can't speak it. So I thought I'd start with Spanish, that'd be easier. She didn't like that either. The challenge that I found in learning Portuguese, and I'm still learning, is as an adult, I am afraid of failure.
And I talked about that.
Okay,
That is
I
a
missed that part.
yes. That was one of the paradigm things that was. It took me months when I first started to code. One was that Googling and copying code, open source, was not cheating, and two was failure is expected in this field. What? What? You. And I need to plan for it. It's a part of the project, and you don't deduct my check for it. What? Failure is a big thing because we are not taught that failure is a learning. It's something we learn from. It becomes failure is internalized, and it's not the failure of I didn't do this. I am a failure.
But there's also an issue. I've done a lot of tutoring in my life, and there's also the issue of I'm an expert as a developer, but I'm not an expert as a mentor. And so if you've ever taken any situational leadership coursework, you need to assess a person at a skill, on that task, and treat them accordingly.
Yeah. And that's what I was saying, meet them where they are. You have to meet them where they are.
And so that also applies to yourself.
Exactly.
That when you're trying to teach someone something, you are also going to be failing because you're going to try an approach and they're not going to get it. And you got to come back and try a different approach.
And that goes to what, excuse me, I don't know, what's your name? You were speaking of that, about defining the ways,
yes.
the different ways of saying the same thing but differently in the ways that people get it. And repeating it. And repeating it and okay, so it didn't work for you that way, so let me go around and do it this way. Okay, it didn't work that way. I'm not discouraged. Okay, let's go around this way and do it. And I got that, I'm going to be honest, from being a special needs teacher. I could not get impatient. If I was impatient, I would go outside and vent to a teacher because I had to meet those, and they were mild intellectually disabled or people on the autism spectrum. So they had a lot of cognitive, so they weren't low functioning. They were pretty high functioning, but cognitively they had some issues in different areas. And I had to treat, and I had a classroom that everybody had a different issue. So it wasn't like when you teach a math class, you're teaching, let's say we're teaching algebra and we need to know this. Everybody's gonna learn it this way. You either get it or you don't. Because this is the form, this is how this thing is set up, that's what it is. Not my classroom.
Well, and not good teachers.
Yes.
Every single classroom, no matter what, there's varying abilities, even when they're like sectioned into advanced and lab.
Yes, but
you're absolutely right.
yeah, I'm just talking about how the formula in math is the formula in math. How you learn it is different, but it's the formula doesn't change. Me taking someone to Walmart or taking them to the bank to figure out how to do that changes because sometimes it varies. And so those are the challenges. And that's why people need to be really honest with it. That's why I wanted to do a self-assessment. People really need to be honest when they say they want to be mentors. It's great in theory and it makes you feel good, all warm and fuzzy, but not everybody's going to be a great mentor. And those who are, it's going to be a challenge. It is going to be a challenge. Because you have to meet them where they are. A lot of people, newbies, aren't able to articulate as I am my needs. And like I said, today I'm working with this guy. I was like, what? I wouldn't even know to ask that what that was. He was talking about Simple Cove. It's Simple Cove. It's something. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I was just doing the Google part, and working on the terminal. Tomorrow we'll discuss what these things really do. Because he kept talking and talking. I was like, dude, okay, now you sound like Charlie Brown's teacher and I'm not getting it. So we need to take a break. Because I know what my thresholds are. Because if I try to push too hard, I'm not getting anything. So that's why you have to do a self-assessment on the mentoring as a mentor and as a mentee.
So I don't know if you've gotten to this part, but going back to what I was saying about your level of expertise, in the topic that you're mentoring versus your level of expertise at teaching someone that topic are gonna be, there's a discontinuous function between those two things. So as a mentor, how do you learn to be a mentor while you're doing it? I mean, do you take a class, or do you get a mentor in mentoring, then you become a mentor and apply what you learn?
Okay, so this is kind of twofold, because you're looking for, and this is why I think adults are harder than young people, because we want answers, and there is no right or wrong answer. Just like people who go to boot camps who are in the same spot I'm in right now.
Physical training?
No, I'm talking about dev boot camps and still in the same spot that I am after spending I don't know how many months in working. There is no one-shot pill. There are people who've gone to leadership programs and still are not good mentors. It's about, I guess you've had experience with someone who's who thought they were a good leader. And so I wouldn't be comfortable saying this is how you do it. It's a lot of that, what we just talked about, failure. It's a lot of that, just getting out there, trying it. And one of the, and I didn't know how much time I have, but one of my activities when I do this longer, because I have this talk scheduled from 10-minute lightning talk to a 90-minute workshop. And one of the things I have is evaluating. You have to be able to evaluate the mentoring relationship on both ends. So both people honestly giving feedback about the experience. That's how you learn and become a better mentor. That's how you learn to become better at anything. You have to do it, practice it, and get evaluation or an assessment.
And you have to be open to the fact that you might not be an expert in mentoring on a topic that you're an expert in.
Yep. Well, that's just like a whole bunch of people are good at something and cannot teach it. Like my cousin's father is great at driving. He is not great at teaching her how to drive. So that's why I'm teaching her how to drive. So that's in a lot of different things. A lot of things we're very good at, but we are not good at getting that information across to somebody else. Because it also takes you to be able to put yourself in that other person's situation. You have to empathize. You have to be very empathetic. And let's be honest, a lot of adults aren't very empathetic unless it's doing something for them. Unless they have the pain point. It's not personal and it's not malicious. They just don't put themselves in that position. Because again, I'm the expert. As a teacher, as a mentor, I'm forever having to assess when I'm talking to young people about my bias in the whole thing. Going back to what you're saying, I constantly have to assess that for myself. And sometimes I have to go back and say, you know what, that was not, let me approach this, disregard what I just said, and let me approach this at a different place to meet you, because I recognize that was my issue and not your issue. So there's a lot of reflection, a lot of self-assessment. And that, again, is what the challenges are. It's not just people being motivated. It's not people just having the desire. It's moving that to a place where you have something, an outcome. Yes?
Yeah, okay, so not to have too hot of a take, but you talk about empathy, which is one of the things I wrote down as like the biggest challenge that I feel like I would have in mentoring somebody. And that's probably like a pretty huge problem in the development community.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you are right, like it's great, like people are focusing way more on inclusiveness than they have in the past, and like that's good, but it's still a long way to go. Do you like have any like starting places for like where you would get started in helping being a mentor, and like are there also like some easy things that you've seen happen a lot, especially in like development education, that like people could maybe correct going forward that aren't up too hard?
Well, one of the things I'm building is it's called juniordevmentoring.com, and what it is, I'm building a website that allows mentors and mentees to match, that they're make connections. And that started out of that blog post I told you about. We need to stop lying to newbies. And again, as adults, we all have our own experiences. And the first thing I can tell you is, if it's your desire to mentor, you really need to be okay with being uncomfortable. And a lot of people aren't. You need to be okay with not knowing. Because you may know how to write this function or whatever, but it's going to be discouraging when you're telling this person and they just don't get it and you can't give up. You got to figure out. So that becomes uncomfortable because you've learned in your way of how to do it, but you recognize that's not working for them. So it's going to take you, if you're really dedicated to mentoring, okay, I need to go out and see if I can find some, maybe they work better, because I'm a any mentor who has me, if they give me a video, I'm good. Because I get to see, or if we're working, if we can do a Google Hangout or a Screen Hero, and I can see what they're doing and have a conversation about it, that works for me. That's one reason I dove deeply into JavaScript, to understand closures and execution stacks and all that kind of stuff, because telling me to do something, I can do it then, but I might not do it tomorrow because I don't know why it worked. And so mentoring is uncomfortable, which goes back to the whole, it's a relationship, it's a connection. It's not a one-shot thing. It's not something you can just give somebody an answer and just let them go off on their own. And that's the challenge of it. And that's why it's not Stack Overflow and it's not Slack and it's not all those things. It's a relationship. And this will help you. Think about those relationships that are important to you. You're empathetic.
Yeah, sure.
I'm sure you are. No, I'm sure you are. I'm sure at some level, some friend or something, they come to you with a problem, and you can empathize. You can comfort them. You can see from their point of view. That's what relationships are. And that's what makes this different from the Stack. It's a relationship, and you need to nurture it as a relationship. Now, you don't have to be personal. They don't have to come to your house like, when you're dealing with young people. That becomes a whole nother thing. But, yes, that becomes a whole nother thing. But it is about relationships. And it's something that takes, and it's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to click overnight. It's going to take some time. Relationships take time. So you're going to be uncomfortable for a while.
Is it a common challenge to have, you talk about expectations, as the mentor, is it common to have unrealistic expectations about your ability to bring someone along?
Yep.
At your expected pace?
Yep, and that's why again, going back to, there needs to be identified and agreed upon goals, objectives, and benchmarks. There has to be. We have to sit down and this is what I want to do, and this is how we're going to get there. This is, so as a mentee, this is where I want to go. As your mentor, I've outlined these things of how we get there. Let's have a discussion so we can agree and see if this works. If not, we can tweak it. But it has to be defined, and then you go from there. Yes, Patrick.
So I was kind of wondering, what kind of benchmarks that you might want to see as a mentee? Because as a mentor, I might have, like Jay was saying, I might have some benchmarks that I want you to have, and it might have something to do with, I want you to understand how to use classes as objects, and I want you to understand programming for this level. But you as an mentee may not even, were saying, you don't even know that what I envision even exists. So that's not your goal.
And
so what might your goals be?
As a mentee, those are my goals. I might not be able to articulate it because I don't know those issues. As a mentee, I want to be a functioning, I want to be a dev that I can do the work. So that's what I'm saying. You as a mentor should know what that looks like. What a fully functioning, I can get a job developer looks like, right?
So I think that might be what I'm asking about. So a benchmark, if the goal is to get a job, and then as a mentee, you're like, well, let's set some benchmarks that we can grow along to eventually get a job. And I'm as a mentor, I might see what those are, and I'm like, okay, we're getting there, but it's like this, maybe for you it's a meandering road, but for me it's like this is stacking straight on top of each
Mm-hmm.
other. So,
That's also, and again, that goes back to what she was saying. Again, you have to, as a mentor, be able to see the forest and the trees. You have to be able to see the end goal where they need to be, plus the tree, because they're looking at the trees. They can't see down the road. The down the road is not even, it's like a painting that's just, you see this road and everything else is just black. There is nothing there. They don't know that exists. But you have the insight to know what that looks like beyond the next few, steps. So you as the mentor, and this is where mentoring and apprenticeships are so much alike. Apprenticeship, there is a set way to get somewhere. That's how mentoring needs to be for professionals. And that's why I've differentiated between youth and personal and professional and adults. There needs to be, as the mentor, you need to be able to see, as a Amber developer, you need to be able to do this 5 things. These are 5 things you need to be able to do, right? That's the big picture. The small picture, the tree is, let's break down this one thing. And you might have to break it down from the very first step. Think about the baby crawling. First, the baby has to flip over in the bed, then the baby has to do that. I mean, it could be that. So you might get a newbie who can crawl, but that's the challenge, because now it's incumbent upon the mentor to break those, because you're dealing with somebody who just does not know. We're not talking about mentoring somebody who has a job and moving them to VP or senior level. We're talking about me. How do you get me to a place where I can get a job and be productive, add something to that team? Yes.
Want to offer a metaphor to that? Do you use Agile Development or Pivotal Tracker?
Mm-hmm.
So I work with Patrick, so I can. You're the product owner, and she needs an MVP, and you're running stories together, but she's also the dev, or you need an MVP. You know the features and epics you want to give her, but the process is going to be writing stories and accepting and rejecting them. Like, you could have a way to do something, but it might not fulfill that feature or epic, and you might need to pivot in how you, as giving more insight into how she's getting there.
It almost sounds like we are building a curriculum for someone.
Yeah.
Yep, that's exactly what you're doing.
So what is the disconnect? I mean, if you go to a dev boot camp, they give you that curriculum, so I'm wondering, beyond that, is it just a lack of knowledge?
Well, from what haven't gone to dev boot camps, but what I've heard, they go through things too fast. You're not learning. I mean, you're touching on everything, but you don't know anything. You touch on a lot of different things.
Do we have anybody who's been through boot camp who might be
Yeah,
able to
yeah,
speak to
actually
that?
just finished one. So, I wouldn't say that you necessarily touch on everything. So, my learning period, I did a lot of self-learning before I enrolled.
What were you learning? Was it full stack, front end, back? What was it?
Yeah, so we were focused on Ruby on Rails,
Okay.
JavaScript, jQuery, Ajax.
So it was a full stack.
It's full stack.
Okay.
Where did you start from?
Yeah, so I did do the self-learning path to start on my own.
Let me ask a different way.
Okay, sure.
Did you have any development experience whatsoever before that?
Oh, before enrolling in the program?
Yeah.
Only self-learning that I had done prior to enrolling in the program. So I had started to learn Ruby on Rails and JavaScript on my own.
And what's your educational background?
I was a finance major in college, and I did work in an IT department for a number of years in system analysis and project management.
But not code. You didn't go
No
to
coding.
You didn't go to tech and study coding, and you just want to learn a new language.
No.
You're like finance, and you want to be a developer.
Yeah, I kind of I found myself on the business side, and then got pulled into the IT side in my job.
All right.
And then I got more and more technical in my job, and I got really interested in programming. Once I started doing it, I just had to learn more and enjoyed it. So I started being self-taught, and then I saw the boot camp as I think it was just the accelerated pace that it would put me on. Like, I didn't think that the self-learning would allow me to, there were a lot of holes, right? And I think when you get into programming, they are setting it up in a way, they're gonna teach it to you in a certain direction where things make sense by the time you get there. So, for instance, we started with Sinatra. We didn't jump into Rails, right? We wanna like start building very small web apps. And by the time we got to Rails, all of that stuff made sense. When I had done Rails on my own, a lot of it was magic.
Yeah.
Right,
Mhm.
so as a self-learner, you can put a Rails app up very quickly, but you don't really understand what you're doing. And so I think the program, the way that they taught it to you, was in a way that by the time they even let you touch Rails, you kind of knew what the web was. You kind of knew what like these HTTP requests were doing. So.
And the one thing I can say about your experience, and as opposed to the people I know, had nothing. At least you had some kind of.
Well, we can't group boot camps.
No, I'm not.
together. I mean, all schools are different.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry. That's not what I'm meaning. That's not what I mean. There are some people who excel at anything. What I'm talking about, there are a number of, again, I can only speak from my experience. There are a number of people who've gone through boot camps and still are in the same spot that I am. They're scared of GitHub. They're scared of Stack Overflow, and that's the and I don't know why. But I can tell you one thing. I do know a lot of them have not had some self-learning before. A lot of them that I know, that was their first experience with development whatsoever, and so they spent like the first few weeks just lost, just completely overwhelmed and lost.
Well, a development career by definition is self-learning.
Mhm.
It's always self-learning from the very beginning to the end. And so boot camp can be a great accelerator in there, but if you're not self-learning before, during, after, it's gonna have limited value to you.
And I'm glad you put it that way, because that's what it's like. There's this ceiling where if you don't have support, you get stuck.
Well, I think that's what I was trying to say about as a developer who's trying to mentor someone, we really think, I think most developers think that problem-solving skills, those are the things that you need to be learning, how to learn, whereas it seems like a lot of beginners are tied up with specific technologies.
And that's what I meant.
It's great
Yeah.
that you know that, but okay, how do you read documentation? Reading documentation can be a brand new thing. And so learning to learn is really the skill
It is.
that you
I
want
agree.
to
Yeah.
develop. It's not necessarily
The tool.
memorize or just copy and paste all these things.
And that's something that newbies, we get caught up in, because I went the back and forth between the Ruby and the JavaScript, the Ruby and the Rails and the JavaScript for a very long time, and finally just said, you know what, I've wasted time. I haven't done anything because I keep going back and forth because I got caught up on the tool.
But beginners believe that if you follow exactly what someone says and you build the thing and you can put it on a website, then someone will hire you. And that's not necessarily
It's not.
the end goal.
Developers are professional learners. That's what they really are. They just happen to code. That's the way they express that.
Right.
And if you take the approach of I'm gonna go to a boot camp to learn a particular discrete skill, and I'm gonna go do that, that skill's gonna be obsolete in a year and a half.
And that's
So
the,
unless you're constantly evolving to get that next skill and the next skill and the next skill, it doesn't do you any good.
and that's the issue I find, and that's why I'm lumping boot camps in with videos and everything else. That's self-taught. There's a place where when that ends, there's a big gap between how to solve that problem when somebody puts a blank code editor in front of you and tells you where do you start. So that you're not freezing up and freaking out. And it is problem solving. And those are the skills I don't see in the tutorials that I've taken. They take you through. Everything is set up. You don't even have a problem with your development environment. When I had the first time, it took me 2 days to set up I thought something was wrong with me. I was just so frustrated. I didn't know everybody had that issue because everything I went through, the development environment was done. Hey, and it's done.
You do it in a browser.
Yeah. So it took me to have a conversation with somebody to say, you know what? No, Kim, that's normal. I spent a week doing, it's not me, because we're in these silos and we don't know what the real world is like.
Well, that's life as a developer.
But we don't know, and that's what mentors need to tell us. That's what the stuff we need to know. So it's not these big things that you need to. It's a lot of it is not these big monumental things that we need. It's the small things that. Oh my God, I'm not. When my guy in Nigeria was having problems today, I was laughing my butt off. He's like, well, "Stop laughing at me." I was like, "Good," because it's not just me. I love it when Kyle Simpson puts on Twitter, you know what, I just spent 5 hours in this and I have to throw it away. Every time he does it, I was like, thank you for that. Bam! I mean, because that just really enforces for me that this is what it is. And a lot of newbies don't get that because the tutorials or whatever don't say, go through this, you'll get a job at $70,000. Just do this. So again, stop lying to newbies.
It sounds like there's a crossover between, I know we're focusing on adult professional, but it sounds like for mentees, at least for the newbies, as however you want to be called.
Yep, we're good with newbies.
It sounds like it's crossing over into being also a personal mentor, because now we're not just teaching you skills, we're also teaching you of like what is life like and how challenging it can be as a developer. We're not just focusing on technical skills.
Well, it's soft skills. It's still professional. Personal to me is now I'm talking about your husband, your wife, that kind of thing. We don't need to be.
Personal is saying like, I know you're an introvert, but you have to go out and do this.
That, yep.
And that is.
Those are soft skills. Yep, that's what they need to do. They need that. We need those. Or this is what it took us. This is a project we had in mind. We had to go through all this. And after 10 people worked on this project for 5 weeks, we realized it was wrong. So we had to start all over. That's the information we need because we don't believe, we've never done, where else in the world does this happen? It doesn't happen in medicine. If it do, they don't tell you. If it does, they don't tell you about it because that's a lawsuit. It does. I mean, it's
medical research.
Exactly, and I know because I'm a researcher, so I don't have a problem with that. But it doesn't happen in education now because they give you the curriculum. It's paced out.
So I think you have a really good point and something that I also experienced. And so when I was like first learning, I opened up Michael Hartle's tutorial.
Yep.
And told me what a terminal was.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know anything. And so when I remember like working really hard to get through that book, and I like felt like, holy shit, I can like make a website now. I made websites for my friends where you can go to it and you see their name, and like click a button and like, maybe changes something on the page or something like that. I thought I was like on top of the world. And I felt like, wow, I did all this work and now I can go get a job and now I'm a developer.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, I didn't know what I thought it was. But I think like there's just a lot of process that happens to understanding what the next level of that is, and the feeling that I'm worth it all now, like I should go and be worth this huge amount of money, is
Disconnect?
It's a disconnect, and I don't think I can't say it's Michael Hartle's fault for not telling me that by the time you finish this book, won't be able to get a job. But like there's a little bit of conveying that like the gap, but I hear that there's a difference between I can make something work and I understand it.
And I can make something work from scratch on my own.
Right. So trying to fill that gap is that's a lot of hard work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably even harder when you don't know what that gap is. So potentially, like one way to start to address this would be to like have little workshops and stuff like that where people you can come and like hang out. And there are that already.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, Code Retreat like rings in my head like really hard right now. But another thing might be like what else do you think would be a way for you to approach that? Would it be blog articles that are about this is how you I just recently made my own like just basic data structures and stuff. So I am learning how Ruby works and learning what data structures are and stuff. And would that be helpful to finish a gap? Would it be like a fully integrated stack where that has like CI in it and stuff like that?
It depends on what the goals of the mentee are and how and
I think what I'm trying to get at is if we're lying to, or if the world's lying to people who are approaching this field,
Mm-hmm.
what does not lying look like?
Not lying is, okay, let's take the Hartle book. This is, you will learn some things that you may be able to transfer somewhere else. And that's it. Eloquent JavaScript. Please stop saying that's for newbies, because that book is not for newbies. That book is hard as crap. It's frustrating. And so as a newbie, when I can't get past chapter 3, I start thinking there's something wrong with me. It's like, okay, what thing comes to my mind is like the car industry. You know, when you're at the dealership, everybody's trying to sell you the, that's what this is. It's a big sales job. And that's why, so you get people in here who are not, who development is not going to be for anyway. So they've wasted their time. I mean, some people, this is just not their bailiwick. This is just not what they are.
They give it a shot.
Yeah, exactly. And then
They
they
learn something good about their life by doing it too. I think, I think we need to be taught from age 0 that failing is good.
There you go.
I just
There you go.
the
There you
whole
go.
System with A through F. I mean, kids are scared to get C's. Kids are scared to. We just gotta be okay with failing. And I think by the time you get to something like this, you just.
A developer's job every day, you're constantly failing.
And that's not something we're used to. That's not something we're used to.
Raise
Yep.
it up just a little bit. So there's teaching someone to code is one level. So you want to write a program, you want to write Hello World. Okay, I can teach someone to write Hello World in an afternoon, right? So that's level 1. That's one dimensional. Now, writing a website, developing a website that actually has some purpose and function beyond putting my name up and pressing a button and changing the color, that's like level 2. Now, being able to do that as a professional is like level 10.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when I said about the disconnect. Teaching someone to code is not the same as teaching someone or taking them on the path to becoming a professional developer. So that's the first disconnect. So the way you started, you were working in an IT department and you were working around other people that you were emulating and you wanted to be more like those people, right? And so you took it upon yourself to do some self-study, and then you went through a boot camp. Now, I would posit that at this point, you would be at a good place to go through one of the longer-term development programs like General Assembly or Iron Yard, or doesn't Big Nerd Ranch do
Yeah, right.
longer-term?
No, we just are week-long.
Week-long? No,
We
this
have
needs to be a,
internships that are
this
like-
needs to be a 3, 6, 9-month program where you're developing a portfolio of projects. with
Exactly,
other people,
yeah.
And you're learning algorithms, and you're learning data structures, and you're learning.
The computer science part behind it.
You're learning
Yep.
computer
Mhm.
science in a quick turn program. Like I
Well,
went
and
to
I think
Georgia Tech
that-
and studied computer science, right? So I learned a whole lot of shit that I didn't think I would ever use, but it actually is pretty useful. You're not gonna get any of that in a boot camp, and you probably won't get any of that in a 3, 6, 9-month program, but at least you're gonna be in a better position to get an entry-level job where you can work around other people that can tell you,
And
"Oh,
that's the
this is
goal.
This is a list, and this is a tree, and this is a bag, and they're all containers, and they're useful for different things, and this is where you would use a list versus a tree, right?
Right.
You're not gonna learn that in boot camp.
In my program, it was 19 weeks, right? So you're on site for a long time, and you are delving into a lot of those topics. So that is
So
within
that's,
the
so
curriculum.
that, then maybe we need to talk about what defines a boot camp, because that's.
Well, I mean,
that's getting
again-
into the
And I
longer.
think that is a very wide variety.
Exactly, and that's why I lump them together with also self-taught. I mean, we create our own boot camps. It might not be structured as they would, but it's still that person who decides they want to code. There's whatever they've learned. What I'm talking about is when it stops and that gap to getting a job.
What about this? Here's a list of things that if you can do these things, you're a competent web developer.
Okay.
And you know, so if there were like, and if you can't do them, then you probably start to work on them, right?
Yes.
And it would be like, here, I can provision a web server, and I can have that web server.
Start with that. Let's start with provisioning.
No, but I mean, but at some point,
Choose a flavor of
But excuse me. Okay, now you guys laughed at him, right? I'm just sitting up here like.
So what we're laughing at is that there's this like insanely huge word, so huge
Exactly.
words to describe a million concepts.
But see, but that's what I'm talking about. Now you see the gap, and that's what I'm talking about. It's like, and so you guys were laughing because you get it, and I'm sitting up here like, okay, yeah, all right.
We're actually laughing because we don't get it. That was the joke the entire time, by the way.
But you knew what he was talking about was well complicated. I didn't. I was like, okay,
So this may be a good point. We need to cut this to get to our next talk.
Okay.
I'm sorry to be the bad.
No.
This is a great talk and good discussion, everyone.
I wanted to bring him on.
Todd, while he's getting ready, you can ask your question.
I thought Patrick brought up a good point that I think a real great starting place for any newbie is community.
Yep.
And it shouldn't start with a single person, it should start with every person and just fill your brains with all the things that you don't know.
Mhm.
And
Some context around, just the world.
Yeah, meetups, workshops.
if,
No,
I
it's
don't know
good.
if
that
it's
went
gonna show up
quick
in
for
the
me.
next month, but I
Yeah.
just did a talk on this at a conference.
There you go.
Cool.
Is there
And-
anybody in here who is looking to work with Ember professionally who is not already doing it?
Oh, yeah. There was many people, I think.
Yeah.
This is what
Grab me
one
at some
job.
point and let's talk. 'cause
Okay.
Our team is ramping up whenever.
Alright, what's your team? Can you tell us about why he's set up? He's
I
already
can
set
do
up.
that.
Yeah, go ahead.
So it's an advertising agency called Lucky & Company. It's an old traditional advertising, they've been around for 60 years. In recent years, they've been getting into digital like everybody else. I'm sorry?
Just like Mad Men.
It is just like Mad Men.
Whiskey for breakfast. You can drink all the time.
No, it is nothing like Mad Men. So, but we are completely revamping everything that we're doing. We're making a long-term commitment to Ember. Our team right now, which has been doing a variety of other things, is all ramping up on Ember. Back end is microservices, focus on Go, Node, things like that. So if that is, we deploy in AWS primarily. So if those kind of things are of interest to you, let me know.
Let's also give Kim a proper signing off. That was great.
Yeah, that was really
That's my first time doing it.
That was super good.
Yeah.
Have Raven version of Rails fail.
Thanks for having me.
Debugging, get it running again.
Patrick's your guy on that.
Yeah, I know.
I actually haven't even watched the show, just whenever I see ads.
The whole sexist pig.
We'll just give everybody a minute to come back and.
Cool.
Yeah.
Fix the broke shit. Did you switch it? Were you always Adam? Were you them guy?
No, I was Sublime and now I'm Adam.
Although I did run into a bug recently where like, if you get into like some deep nested structures in the tree,
Yeah.
it'll just lock it and crash. It's
Mine's been locking.
It's fixed in beta.
I did not realize it did that.
Yeah.
You run beta?
Mine's been randomly locking.
It's I find it only when you're in the tree view. There's like a reported bug if you're in the tree view.
Hmm.
And it's fixed in the beta.
It's I also have a very long file that has a bunch of text. So I have some like I have like
That's an issue with like large
it just I can't open it. It crashes. I got to open it in Sublime Text, which is kind of a weird thing.
Yeah, that's not the only like that's not gonna happen. It's like
Yeah.
it cannot handle large.
Yeah, I was doing stuff with the key bindings today, and I found that was very easy to do. So
Oh yeah.
No.
I was like, there was one. They did such a good job of emulating Sublime Text on the key bindings, but there was one Option Shift up and down to go up and down a line in selection.
Oh god, like selecting multiple lines?
Yeah.
There's an add-on for it, but it's not very good.
Yeah, so I went in and programmed my own thing.
Did you share that?
It's not programmed. No, I'm saying in Sublime Text, if you hold Option Shift down and up, it starts selecting a line as you go up and down.
But you can like
Is it the same thing as like a multi-column select, so you just select the same point in multiple columns, and it's like.
You can do that in Atom out of the box. I accidentally do it all the time. Yeah.
Plug it, but it's called like Sublime columns, Sublime multi-column solution.
I don't know what the keyboard. It happens sometimes when I accidentally.
I have to figure out how to do it, because that's like the one thing that knows a shit out of it.
It's super nice.
Yeah.
When the crazy Vim people do that, and they're like, you're like, what? All right. Yeah, we launched this week actually. Yeah. Yeah, it's exciting. People can go to the marketing site, type their email in, and access the application. We haven't officially launched until next week, but we soft launched. We've got like a PR blitz that's scheduled for next week. So, and it's nice just to softly put it out there. We've had beta users in the app, but it's nice just to like plop it out there. We've got some stuff we got to take care of still, but
it's close enough to ready.
Yeah, it's sellable right now. Yeah, so except for this Safari bug that hopefully will be fixed after tonight. Yeah, I know, right? We have a designer that found it because he uses Safari.
I mean, that's good.
It's good, but like it tells you I've never looked at Safari before.
That's WebKit, so it's like not.
I had to re-update Safari because I couldn't even get it to open before the meeting. I'm good. Hey, Patrick.
Unless I have any more questions.
What is that, the Stack Overflows?
Let us loose.
What's up?
Let us loose and start
Still the same.
Yeah, I know, right?
You're still working on the sports app?
Financers.
I used to have a band teacher that would just sit quietly until I don't think it was going to work with a group of adults, but hey, Dougal.
Alright, let's talk. Let's put it in the
All right, this isn't so much a talk as I was hoping to crowdsource a bug fix. That's kind of an odd one. So in our application, we have a timer feature that when you push play, it ticks up time. It works fine in Chrome, Firefox, everywhere else, but in Safari, it's running. It's just not ticking up into the display. You can see it. Well, you can't see down here, but it's actually ticking up in the console.
I don't see that. Oh, it is. Yeah.
But it's not updating.
But it's not updating in the render, and
That's the feature, man.
but if a weird thing that happens is like if I hover over one of these icons, it updates.
Isn't this why Facebook created React, because they couldn't get notifications to work right?
So Jeff, we got to dump the app. We got to do React for Safari. Yeah. It's if the component. All that's happening is there's a computed property. Just kidding. Let's drop down a little bit farther. All right, there is a. Okay, so there's an Ember run later going on right here. That every second it calls increment seconds.
Can you console out at that point? Just to make sure it's like we see.
Well, we're watching it in the console, like it's bumping in the console.
It's bumping in the console. It's consistently worked for our users in Chrome for a month and a half.
So,
This is a weird bug.
like, what about if you use jQuery in that block and try to update something in the header there? So, like, the idea is like
Is there any way you
that
can
block should be running.
So increment seconds is running, like it's happening. It's
Yeah,
the DOM
it
update is
calls
happening,
itself. So
but it's not rendering
But-
from.
it calls itself. It increments component seconds. The timer is a computed property that watches component seconds, and then if there's component seconds at all, it does some moment stuff to it to return the format. It just returns the string. And all you're seeing with the timer is this computed property.
Just constantly being called.
It's just there. And so it's constantly, Ember's just re-rendering every time the computer property changes. Nothing crazy about this. This is basic Ember computer properties.
If you move that DOM element like somewhere super far away on the page, like, does it behave the same? Like, I'm thinking maybe there's like some tricky thing where like it thinks it doesn't have to paint because it's behind another element or something maybe?
Like if I hover, this is Chrome, that's why it's working.
So you haven't solved this problem, we're solving this.
I'm crowdsourcing, yeah.
I thought you said
Oh,
you
okay.
crowdsourced it and you solved it.
Uh,
No, this is great. This is I thought we were like, yeah, great.
I thought you were getting like, mad about it.
I gotta switch contexts. It's either teacher or listener.
All right. So there's the timer.
And if you hover over an element, it
Oh shit! It's totally working.
That's not working?
No, it's not working.
Cam. Yeah, it is. This one is. This is the same component. I just copied it.
Oh, we were all staring at the old one.
Cam's one step ahead of you.
So,
So,
all right, solve that problem. Next question, why are you using ember.run.later? I would use like schedule or something like that. Later's kind of hacky, like, I don't know.
Later proxy set
Or is it the
timeout.
one that takes the time?
Later is just set timeout 0.
yeah. What?
Yeah,
So you just schedule.
Yeah, so if you set timeout 0, that just makes it happen the next
Yeah,
tick, right?
that's all we run later is set timeout 0.
Maybe it's fine, I don't know. I was just
It's-
wondering why you're using run later.
The run stuff is super confusing.
It is,
Bounce,
yeah.
maybe?
Yeah.
Wait, do you understand why this
Just try
is
to bounce?
Why would you debounce that?
Okay, yeah, Safari
It's
just
a
doesn't have to
wait to
redraw.
run. So
So,
it's
like,
like run later,
why
to
does it
bounce it
doesn't
for a
redraw?
second.
Well, so what I want to happen is that I want to every second increment the second and I guess wait another second. So I guess I could schedule that.
I mean,
Or
I
you
don't
can-
know.
I mean,
I would
just schedule it
go
over-
inspectors here or something, overlay.
Go back to why the DOM is not drawing.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah, why is it not drawing inside the DOM, but it's
So
already outside the DOM?
If we're starting with
That's
one works and one doesn't, and we're thinking about Safari doesn't think it needs to do it, I would say something with absolute positioning or with CSS.
Yeah, or
Start
there's
down that
something
road.
like that's maybe not actual, or maybe something that's hidden thinks it's over top of it, or who knows what the hell is going on, but I would dive through.
So
the
it's got something to
process.
do with actual implementation of how it understands the DOM and like
Yeah, like
weird
where,
element precedence or whatever.
let's start looking at the tree of this component.
Yeah, it's a treat.
All right, this is gross. This
Where
is
does
so
it
gross.
more
I wanted to- I wanna, like,
inspected and does
Make this
inspection work?
Sure.
I mean, can you inspect it in Safari, just start moving, like just unchecking?
Is it SVG?
The icon next to it is an SVG.
But okay.
This is the first time I've opened up Safari, so.
I'm gonna have to get closer.
Yeah, you got it, this is the inspector, yeah.
Oh, okay. Where
You'll find the console up there as well, and that's all.
where the classes and stuff? How do I show that?
Yeah, I don't.
Does it work in Chrome?
Yeah, it works in Chrome, Firefox.
IE? Have you tested an IE?
I missed that part, sorry.
No. Maybe one
There's a
of
little like weird sidebar thing over there, maybe that'll give you some more info.
I'm in Elements.
Very far right icon.
This one? Oh, okay. Does anybody know what to do with this?
Styles, is the second tab in there?
Styles?
Oh, styles. Okay, sweet. All right.
Like last fall, there was a time.
How do can I make this bigger?
I think you might be able to pull this. I don't know if you can.
But like zoom in? Try just zoom
Command
in.
plus.
No, that just makes it up.
I know. Click over here in Command plus.
Google.
But that's actually
Nope.
That's Google.
I don't run it for development.
All right, so here's the actual element.
Go up to the UL.
Yeah, that's what you said. Yeah.
It's positioned absolutely.
Take that off.
I mean, I don't like my like the David.
Where did it end up? Turn the
Which is a long.
0, 0, down a little.
Hold
So
on.
it's out. It's off. It's probably behind that. Oh, there it was. It was right above the menu. It's right here.
Oh, there it is.
Is that working?
No,
No.
it's not.
They don't want
It's
to-
still,
or like
it's
put
still.
one next to
6,
it.
green
And then it
shades.
jumped to 12.
Something's happening now.
Take
It's on-
the
it's
back
on now.
out.
He's hovering over, he's
Yeah,
hovering
so
over
it's
stuff. Every time he changes something,
Our
in a
site
CSS
for
property, it
Amazon,
updates.
trying to, like,
Oh,
start
yeah.
test driving, test driving our sign-in process.
If you're down at the text of
Yeah,
this,
it's like-
Yeah.
this span,
Heavily complex.
let's
really
set
quick.
its property,
I think, I'm
its
hoping.
text color or its color
Oh,
to
sure.
black.
Okay.
There you go. Alright, so there's one thing.
But see, the weird thing is, look at the DOM.
That's
It's
why they're all
iterating in
there.
the DOM.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
It's clear fixed.
Words and stuff.
Oh, that is weird.
You see colors, right?
I think this,
Line.
somewhere in this header above this UL, so, this div might also be absolutely positioned.
What's your hypothesis on the CSS part
Yeah.
of this? That doesn't make sense to me.
Absolutely positioned elements,
Wait.
depending on what the browser thinks its z-depth is and like where it's rendered, it might not think it has to paint it. Okay? I mean,
So-
that's the only paint option that
Does-
we're starting with.
Does manually setting the Z depth also play into this?
Yeah. So if it was absolutely positioned, I would set the z-depth of that nav to like 1,000 to see if that worked. I mean, you could just hit
And
reset on
hopefully
this.
you don't have any other nav hacks where the Z-depth is 1,000 as well.
1001.
Yeah.
Maybe, let's just go to
I mean,
1,005.
That only goes up to what, 1050? So let's go 1051. Let's do a Price is Right action.
Wait, is that like a thing? You're like, we're not gonna go above 250. You can hack on top
No,
of
no,
Z
the
up to
elements
250.
that they built, they go, it's like 1,000, 1010, they do it by tens, and the last one is their modal, it's at 1050. And so you know, anything you're always building, if you want it on top of the modal, you go 2,000 and then start going up from 2,000. That's at least how I
Awesome.
We'll see.
This is
maybe.
where
10
Charlie
Yeah.
Brown's teacher
Just to be
starts
safe.
talking, right? Wah, 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 wah.
Okay, so that's z-index 10,000 on the positioned absolute element.
What if you went the other direction and brought that element successively inside of its HTML nest until it just stopped working?
Oh, sure, okay.
I mean, so you sort of, like, we know
Yeah.
that we have a working example, we have a broken example, so somewhere in the middle it's gonna stop.
Okay.
Yeah, or simply outwards.
Here we go. Let's try there.
Yeah.
Outside of that UL. I don't know where it's going to end up on the page.
Yeah, that would be where you put it in the middle and.
Okay, so it's
working.
the one that's down below is the one that's outside of the
Okay,
UL.
we'll have to wait between.
Was that
Can you take the
Chrome
other
or was
one
that
out?
Safari?
Was that?
I think it's gonna be that middle span,
Can you take the other one
for
out?
no reason.
That was Chrome, but this is Safari.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll take the other one out.
Yeah, so we're not confuzzled. Yeah.
Alright.
It's working.
We know it's working in Chrome, can we close the Chrome window just so we stop?
Never. Okay, yeah, sure. That's
Never close Chrome.
that's probably not.
It's taking up 6 terabytes of RAM. Sweet.
All right. So now this is inside of the.
It's working.
It's inside of the LI.
So it's your spans. So this timer icon.
Just
Just take the timer icon out.
Is it the fact there's an action on that span?
That's the action.
That's an action for clicking on the span, but
Alright. Now we're just down to
This is
one.
gonna break-
This
it's
is
gonna
one
break.
span
This is my hypothesis.
working.
working.
But there were actions on those previous spans and some IDs.
It's just a span inside of a span.
Was that the inner span of the two?
Not working.
Oh.
Oh.
That's the span. There was an outer span, right?
What?
Between 98 and 100, wasn't there another
So
span?
make-
No, this is it was self. It was
Okay, so
closed at
make-
the end.
So make this a div.
This?
Yeah, you shouldn't put spans in spans.
Spans,
I gotta remember that. Why do we?
I
do
thought
that?
you could put spans inside of anything.
No.
Is it working?
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh
So
my god!
Why do you not put spans in
I
spans
was
for
right.
somebody who doesn't know the answer to that?
I was so right.
Spans are supposed to be inline elements, and you shouldn't put an inline element inside another inline element.
Otherwise, Safari will break.
So, yeah. If you need that to be a display inline, it should be a div, and then you should put spans inside of that. You shouldn't put spans inside spans.
No, you just gotta get the stallion.
So Safari's just
Yeah.
like really.
So if you need that to be an inline element, I would make it a class.
I got that covered.
Sweet.
Yeah. Thank you.
So you'd make it a div and then make the div.
Good job, team.
Good job, Todd.
Who developed CSS?
Like have a class
Alright.
that says like.
You thinking like HTML isn't working right? What the hell? I know that's not
But the
your
actual
comfort
side
area. A
is
lot of you.
assigned to
That's
that
why you have Todd.
inline block.
He's a resident
class.
CSS guy.
It's a display inline.
Where's
Display has like.
We should have a closing number of different
Oh,
values.
okay,
You
okay.
can actually say like div is
You wanna do it too?
display.
I'm going to.
Boom.
Display table row.
I'm not gonna have a computer though.
Display has a.
Hey, this is great talk. I really enjoyed this, and it was very awesome. Lots of cool stuff about mentoring, and lots of we're smart enough in the room to figure out a cool bug in Safari.
Mentor success.
So someone needs to do a PR to Safari to not be a neckbeard, and that was Cam's contribution. And then and we're all often we go right next door to Ration and Dram after this for drinks, and we're probably gonna do that here now in a few minutes after we clean up. So everybody's welcome to do that. So it's like meeting after the meetup is.
Beer JS.
After party?
Yeah, it's like a great way to network and kind of be awesome. So thanks for coming out.
Also, for sure, come to project night, Chris.
Oh.
That is
Oh.
in beer.
For sure, come to Project Night.
We're not really sure where it is in time space, but
Yeah.
it's somewhere.
It's somewhere in existence, but not here and now. We don't know when and where.
Want to do Ember stuff? Come hang out and ask around. And these questions are great.
And also, that's a good point because that's exactly what it's that hack night is exactly what people need to come to when they need mentors to understand the world they're in and how to engage in it.
This is just an idea right now.
No, it's definitely happening.
Has it been actualized?
It's actualized.
But an Ember specific.
It's yeah.
The JS group, there are two hack nights. There are two hack. Actually, they're like Friday, Monday hack hours.
Is it possible?
So
for browser likes
I'm done with this thing.
People like me who are just like studying and working.
I would really like to see.
Are you free Friday at 1 o'clock?
No, I'm not free
Friday at 1 o'clock.